Yo, YouTube, what's crackin' like a jack is smacking? It's Waffleman for video, coming at you with the NFL Week 2 predictions. And just so I can get it off, I lost my first fantasy match. I can't believe it. I only lost by 8 points. It's ridiculous, man. I was leading throughout the whole thing, and then at the end, Matt Schaub just had to throw 3 touchdowns, I think, or 4 touchdowns. But Matt Schaub just had to throw those touchdowns, man. I wanted Matt Schaub to do terrible, but come on, son. He just had to throw those touchdowns. But anyways, let's get on to it. Starting tonight, the Jets versus the Patriots. I'm going to take the Patriots, of course. You know, Tom Brady had 2 touchdowns the last game, and Geno Smith also had 1 touchdown the last game. But, you know, the Patriots are just better. But the Jets defense is going to be something for the Patriots to watch out for. Now, the next game we have is St. Louis and Atlanta Falcons. Now, the Rams are 1-0, and the Falcons lost the game. But, you know, I feel like Matt Ryan's going to come back, you know, lead his team again to a good win. The defense for Atlanta is pretty tough. And I think the Rams are just not good enough to beat Atlanta. Now, the Panthers and the Bills. We saw that the Bills' defense was great defense, you know. The Panthers also lost the game, you know. There's some questions with Cam Newton. He only had 1 touchdown, you know, 16 out of 23, his first game. And EJ Manuel, you know, he's not that bad. And you still got Fred Jackson and CJ Miller in the backfield. So, you know what? I'm going to take the Bills in this matchup. Now, then we have the Vikings and the Bears. Divisional matchup right here. The Bears have, you know, great defense. The Vikings have the tough Adrian Peterson. Christian Ponder, who's okay at throwing the ball, you know. They got some receivers on the Vikings. They got Jerome Simpson and Greg Jennings. But Jay Cutler did a pretty good job in his first game. And so did Matt Forte. And you know they got Brandon Marshall to throw the ball to, so you know I'm going to take the Bears. Now, Washington and Green Bay. Now, Robert Griffin III had a rough start in the game versus Philadelphia, you know. And he didn't make any excuses for it. He said that it was his fault. It's his fault that his team lost. And he's still a great quarterback in this league. You know, Robert Griffin III came back in that game, you know, after half. He threw some touchdowns. You know, he had 2 touchdowns in the game. But Aaron Rodgers is a great quarterback as well. 3 touchdowns, 333 yards in his first game. And that Packers defense, especially at home for the Packers, that's going to be too much for the Redskins to overcome. And I think the Redskins will lose again. So they'll be 0-2 after this week. And Miami and Colts, you know, Miami, you know how I feel about Miami. They won the first game, but, you know, in my opinion, the Colts are still better. And the Colts are playing at home. And you also have Andrew Luck, you know. What else are you going to do? Miami's just a bad team. They got to win, but that win doesn't really mean anything. Now, Cowboys and the Chiefs. The Chiefs have a quarterback now, Alex Smith. And Alex Smith did a pretty good job in the first game, throwing for 2 touchdowns. Jamal Charles looked a little bit better than last season, running for 77 yards and having 1 touchdown. But Tony Romo didn't do bad in his first game as a Cowboy. And you know, that Cowboys defense, man, they were picking off Eli Manning a lot. They were causing fumbles. That defense was crazy the first game I saw that defense. So, I'm going to have to take the Dallas Cowboys only because, you know, I kind of trust Tony Romo with this game. And Alex Smith, even though he's a high completion quarterback, you know, I still like the Dallas defense a little bit better than the Chiefs defense, even though the Chiefs defense are also nice. So, it's going to be a good matchup, that game. Now, the Chargers and the Eagles. The Chargers already dropped 1 game, but Philip Rivers had 4 touchdowns in the game. So if Rivers throws 4 touchdowns in the game and it still counts for a loss, I don't know how many touchdowns Philip Rivers has to throw, because 4 touchdowns is a lot of touchdowns, man. And Michael Vick only threw 2 touchdowns, but LaShawn McCoy, man. LaShawn McCoy is a beast running back. 184 yards on the field, 1 touchdown. Deshaun Jackson looks great. That Eagles defense looks amazing. And it caused so many problems for Robert Griffin III. So it's going to probably cause a lot of problems for Philip Rivers. Now, Cleveland and Baltimore, I'm going to have to take the Ravens. They're both 0-1. But the Cleveland Browns are probably the worst team. You know what? Maybe not say worst team in the NFL, because there are a couple bad teams in the NFL. But the Cleveland Browns are just bad. Trent Richardson isn't running as well as people thought that he was going to run. Brandon Reading is just a joke. This guy had 3 interceptions the first game. This guy is a joke. Joe Flacco, you know what he's going to do. He has that huge contract on his head, and he throws the football a lot. I'd like to see more from Ray Rice's game because Ray Rice is on my fantasy team, but also because Ray Rice is a great running back, and he needs to do better than 12 carries for 36 yards. They need to give Ray Rice the ball more. Now the Tennessee Titans and the Houston Texans. I got the Texans winning in this one. The Texans are way better. They have a great defense. Matt Schaub, you know, obviously three touchdowns, 34 for 45 completion. And you know they still got Arian Foster and Andre Johnson, two beasts right there. Detroit and the Cardinals. I'm going to take the Lions because Matthew Stafford is going to throw it to Calvin Johnson all day. And Reggie Bush, man. Reggie Bush is also a beast. This guy is a great running back for the Detroit Lions. I love him. I love Matthew Stafford, Reggie Bush, and Calvin Johnson on that team. And that defense ain't that bad. Now, the Saints and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm going to take the Saints because, you know, the Buccaneers blew it the last game versus the Jets. That was a disappointing loss for them, but that was also a terrible loss. And Drew Brees is a great quarterback. It's going to be hard to stop him with that Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense. But the Buccaneers defense, you know, they did a pretty good job. But Doug Martin needs to establish himself again. He didn't really have the great running yards that he had. 65 yards is good, but it's not great. Now, Oakland and Jacksonville, I'm going to take the Raiders. That's all I need to say about that matchup. And the Broncos and the Giants. Now, I think I'm going to take, even though I'm a Giants fan, I want the Giants to win, but I feel like the Broncos might win this game because the Broncos do have a good defense. But Peyton Manning versus Eli Manning, it's going to be a good matchup, but I'm going to have to take the Denver Broncos, even though, you know, I love my Giants, man, but I have to take the team that I think is going to win, and the Broncos might win it, even though I want the Giants to win it so badly. Now, 49ers and the Seahawks, another great matchup, but the 49ers defense is just ridiculous, and their offense is just ridiculous. I mean, Colin Kaepernick had 412 yards for 3 touchdowns, and you know they got Frank Gore in the backcourt, and Anquan Boldin with 208 yards in his first game. Russell Wilson and Marshawn Lynch did an okay job in their first game, but come on, man. That Colin Kaepernick to Anquan Boldin connection is going to be real. It's going to be crazy. And the last game for Monday, Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Bengals. Last game, I thought the Steelers looked flat out terrible. I mean, there was like no yardage on the running game. There's barely any yardage on the offense at all. So I think I'm going to take the Bengals because Andy Dalton, I believe in Andy Dalton. I believe in AJ Green. That's a nice combo. Green Ellis is nice from the backfield, and he's good at running for the touchdowns when they get into the red zone. And the Steelers just look like they have some major problems, man. So, anyways, YouTube, I'm out. Peace.